tension is coming down right now. The
Yeah.
things that have been binding us is coming down, and the truth is coming forward. So when we really can connect, when the vibration goes out and people can comprehend what salvation is
Yeah.
as kaya, as a mode and operation of that which we're experiencing. Oh, I do need to talk to Ruth. I'll call her back if you want to just.
Well, we just let it go.
Okay. Anyway, once that really comes forward and people grasp that concept of kaya, what salvation truly is, everything outside of that is just going to fall away. It will cease to be. So that Constantinian gospel, that Christianity, the spell that it has been under, will cease to be.
Spell.
And in a lot of ways, even with the religious aspects of Judaism, some of those things, it's just all away. It's all, we're back in that 70 AD moment all over again. And everything that is keeping us separated is coming down. And it's going to be traumatic for many, many people. It's going to be very traumatic because if their foundation is set on anything that is really religious, because they haven't found the true chaya within themselves, it is going to shake them to their core. And they will, that's that loss of faith. It will be extremely, extremely traumatic, just like it was in many of the times that any time religious systems were upset, how amazing and how traumatic it was. Because I can't even imagine what the 70 AD moment was like, nor any of the other times where the temples were destroyed and religious systems wiped out, when it becomes such a foundational piece to a people group. Like, just stopping and sitting there. I had a moment, I'm just going to share this.
I'm gonna check this phone. I'm listening.
Oh yeah, no, go check it. I had a moment where I felt like I was really connecting to this time that we're living in, and how sensitive we all need to be to this, because it's an internal movement. We may see things externally, but it's an internal movement that happens. And I found it very interesting that in the writings, when it says that when the temple in 70 AD, when that horrific event happened, that many of the survivors, as those who escaped, went to Mount Pela, and they watched the destruction from Mount Pela. And when you take a look at the word of what Pela means, what they couldn't see of what was happening with what that word meant was a wondrous sign, as they didn't realize that the worship system was changing into something that was going to be more elevated, something that was going to be lifting them up higher, but in the moment they couldn't see it. And my heart is that all of this, as it's happening, may we all still see the wonder and the magnificence and the marvelous in the destruction, realizing that something greater is happening, so that those attachments don't keep us from moving forward and moving up and beyond that which has bound us for so long. Because, it reminded me of, even in the narratives, because I've shared with you how I feel about the narratives, but yet there's many things that we can learn as they speak to our hearts. I'd always considered what it was like, in this kind of same vein that we're discussing, about what would have it been like in the ark, that in the narrative, after the water settled and the ark landed on dry ground, what was it like the moment when the door was open and they left the ark, when everything that once was no longer there, and it was totally barren and raised down to the level of just nothing, and then having to rebuild. I mean, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like that we're entering into right now. And I think that those who are brave in heart are going to be able to be embracing these things, because we've prepared ourselves for this. We've prepared ourselves for understanding that this new movement, this new way, is something that hasn't been seen before, and it's going to look completely different. And everything that we once knew, as it gets stripped away in this revealing, it's actually about us stripping this things from here away, giving us a fresh start. But to let go, to not have attachments to things that have bound us, and to really be honest, and your word that I love as well, being authentic in the process of going. It's going to be scary to a lot of people, and even those of us who prepared. I don't think you can prepare fully for some of the things that we're going into. I really don't. I don't think we can prepare for it fully. We can brace as much as we can, and we can get our heart, and we can clear out our own temple as much as we can, but still that shock and awe of what does that look like? Because we're going to have Mount Pela moments. We will be facing some of these things. And that's why I think community is so important, because having that love and support of one another to be able to hug and go, it's okay, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, where we don't have to do it by ourselves in isolation. That
a lifeline.
Yes, exactly. And you can have chief encouraging officers that have that ability to just carry that joy presence no matter what, and have the ability to stir that up, to be able to bring people out of some of those dark despair moments, in order to get their head on straight, help others put their head on straight, so that we can walk in a fuller comprehension of what we're going through right now. This is not something little.
Yeah,
This is not something little.
yeah, it is a huge, and that, how beautiful was that? That is so, that was really beautiful.
Thank you.
And
Well,
super powerful. It's very meaningful on a personal level, but it's important for beyond you and I. But that speaks realms to me in the midst of my house cleaning, my 11 house cleaning.
yeah,
That is, yeah, it's never been through such a season. So that's really helpful to me.
good.
And
Well,
it's, yeah,
the beautiful part is that nobody has to do it alone. That, I think, if there's anything that I have learned in the last 5 years or so, is that if you open your eyes and you look around, there are others that are similar, that
yeah,
when we join, all of a sudden, then you're not having to walk it out by yourself. We are truly walking it out together, because all of us are going through it. And so the knee-jerk reaction, at least for me in the past, used to be pull away, because if
oh,
God forbid you see me not in my best element, right? Ego, I can do this, right? God forbid you see me with snot coming out of my nose and mascara streaming down my face and my face all red and puffy eyed. God forbid that to happen. But if we are in a place where we are emotionally secure with who we are, in our emotions, in being transparent and being authentic, gives other people permission to do the same thing. And that is the only way that we are going to be able to make it through these traumatic,
that's right.
70 AD moment things, is being able to feel our way through it, because that is why we've had so much generational bondage. We've been like, we're so stoic, and we're going to bind all these things up within us because look at me, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I can move through it. But yet we're such a hot emotional mess on the inside. We just keep perpetuating it because we didn't let it go. I think that's what the sins of the forefathers is more about, is that we're not letting go of some of these things that have caused so much trauma and have kept us in this separation, that we just keep rehashing it. There has to be a generation that is willing to walk through the emotional trauma of it and release it. That's why I call our generation an extremely brave and pioneers, that we are those that are willing to take upon the emotional transformation work, because it's those that have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
for the sake of future generations. It's literally like looking forward to future generations of ourselves. And let's say we're going to do it in this generation. So that phrase, again, I'm bringing this up because I feel, again, and we've talked about it before, it's such a Moshe moment. Let us go, let us go, let us go. And I'm telling you, last summer I was annoyed. I kept hearing everyone was saying it. I'm like, I've never heard anybody say this phrase before. Why all of a sudden is everyone saying, let's go, let's go? But what are you talking about? Spirit says, slow down. What is it saying? Let us go. Oh my God. Let us go. It's not let my people go. It's let us go. It's like the cry of the,
Shalach et ami, let us go.
exactly. It's the
Or
cry of
let
the,
my people go, which is an
but then
us.
making it personal, because it's like it's an individual, but it's the collective as well. It would be an eam thing, it's the collective that's subconsciously calling out for it. But the only way that can happen is there's got to be the brave few that are willing to do the work. Because if we start making that wedge and we start doing it, then again, I'm really big about giving permission to others to do it. If I do it myself and I'm demonstrating it and walking it out, I just gave permission to another to do it. If they were too afraid to, they were able to see it. Oh, well, if Carrie did it, I can do it. And if
So
I'm transparent with them, they know they're safe with me, then more of us gather, then it allows us that safe place to transmute all of those things instead of hiding due to the ego and feeling judged. I'm so done with that. I'm so done with that.
yeah, I think I'm that's really, really good. I think that statement is really loud within me. Let us go.
Yeah.
During this season of cleaning out leaven that only circumstance can reveal,
Right.
I'm pretty
Right.
good with being present with myself and my emotions, but um, a few weeks ago, just gave myself permission to be aware of what I'm not aware of, and for a deeper internal cleansing of leaven. And I had no idea that it would be really the greatest upheaval that I can remember I don't know since when in my life. All of it at the same time.
I
And
know.
I just, even last night, I looked at myself and said, what the freak is the matter with me? It's ridiculous to get upset. And then I said, okay, that is a younger Yana crying for some need. So let me meet the need. And then, because really, it's just ridiculous day after day, the strength of it.
Yeah. Well,
And
what I see it as is grace. I actually see it as grace, as is the strength that gets us through this. Because had had we known that certain revelations that come in and they knock our socks off and we have our champagne bubbly moments, had we known what was going to happen on the other side, we might say,
yeah,
I think I'll pass today.
yeah, I think maybe I'll just take it as theory, not necessarily apply it. I'll just go back to my academic brain and just let it sit in there, But yeah, you're not here for that, and neither am I.
Not at
So
all. Whatever it looks like, that's why I feel that there's the brave pioneers that are out there, that are doing this work. And I see you that way. I see myself that way. I see my husband that way. And, there's countless others that are nameless, faceless ones that are doing the same thing. And I have so much honor and respect for the journey, because I know how painful and how hard it's been. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
But would I say that I want to do it again? Oh no, not at all. Once is good
heck
enough.
no.
Yeah,
That's what
once is good enough.
I want to do it. I do not want to. I was just saying this the other night to the Lord, in what was called the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
We say it in Hebrew, which it has completely different meaning. And there's a part in there that says, the test that I will fail today, do not bring me into, meaning let me do what I need to do internally so that when the test comes or the contrast comes, that I will move through it empowered rather than in a weakened state.
Oh, that's
And
so good. Well, that's the whole point.
well, that is the whole point.
It's the whole point.
The whole point.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is that once you do that often enough, that when those challenges and the contrasts come, you embrace them. You don't
Yeah.
resist them anymore because you know what's on the other side of it. And it's this Hallivah, yes, I made it
Yeah.
through. And then I see a little bit more clearly. I get my lenses get cleaned just a little bit more, so I'm not seeing with that twisted dark eye or the dimly lit one.
Well, that's the truth. I've really had a good walk with that, because one thing I don't like, and I don't know anybody that likes it, but I particularly have been reactionary to threats.
Sure.
And my reaction is not to run away. My reaction is to grab that threat and just say,
Take it head on.
Yeah,
Take it
that's
head on.
been and I really am flipping that. Instead of, I'm actively involved in the process of being, I call it recalling my power, and not always just giving my power away to circumstances or to events or to people that I, do stupid ass stuff and, threaten me and things like that, which I always think, go pick on someone who, doesn't react. Why would someone, the point is that that's a real thing for me right now, because I've had some of the biggest threats I've ever had outside of, my life, which I got through that okay, but not recently, but historically. So yeah, I'm right in the middle of that, and I want to respond and not knee jerk, chemically based, reactions. I don't like.
I get it. I actually am glad that you brought that up, because even this morning, as my husband and I we were talking and sharing, and sometimes, it's just the nature of relationships. Things can get a little rubby.
Oh,
and it's
yes.
just
When you're not
right?
being heard.
And and it just gets rubby, or the conversation, it's just the communication is missing somewhere. It's kind of like it just goes whoop, and you're not connecting, and so it causes this. Well, when we went for our walk today, I had this strong inclination that I was like, it had nothing to do with Ken, it had everything to do with me. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is I felt very strongly that even before Israel, that there's certain elements that I need to remember to always point here first, because rarely is it anything on the outside of me. It's generally, if I get emotionally moved one way or the other, it's generally always something that's going on inside of me.
That's the only way you can be moved emotionally.
Yeah. And so everything outside is just a mirror reflecting something back that I need to see. So as soon as I disconnect and make it not personal, so if somebody's coming against me, I have an opportunity there to see where I'm, or how I'm responding. Did I get moved out of shalom? If I got moved out of shalom, then there's something there that I need to deal with.
Because for sure.
In a state of anointing, in that place of where I see Mashika being in that anointing level, is being able to operate and still hold my peace regardless of what others do. And what I have found is that when people get stirred up, and I have a point that I'm saying this, but when people they get stirred up from something that's being said and something that's being challenged, I know it's their ego I'm dealing with and not their spirit.
You bet.
That's a big thing. I'm like, oh, I see you. I see you, shade side of you. That's not really you speaking, that's your ego. The second thing, I see there's a whole lot of fear, because then what happens, is I've seen, is that if they get stirred up, it could be because, what if I'm right? What if what I shared with them that stirred them?
Oh, for sure.
What if I'm right? Then that means everything that the other self has based their foundation on is being shook. So I realize that they're having a moment where they're being shook, and the only knee-jerk reaction they have is anger, accusation. I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it's because of fear. They have so much fear. What if I'm wrong? And I even experienced that the other week with somebody that has a really strong primacy in Greek. And there was some challenging that was being stirred up because I was speaking of Aramaic, the Aramaic New
Yeah.
Testament, and they really got
Yeah.
stirred up. I had to sit back on it. I had to hold firm where I was, but I was like, you know what? What if I spent 13 years studying Greek instead of Aramaic and Hebrew? And somebody was coming to me with all the hours that I've put in was studying Hebrew and Aramaic, and somebody said, you know, it's totally wrong, and the Greek was totally the original language, and you spent 13 years studying for nothing. Oh my gosh, how would I feel?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Same thing.
yeah, yeah.
So compassion. And having said all of that, it allows me to step back, not take it personal, and have compassion.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do. It's just not easy to do.
Well, it's easy to do if the issue on the inside is acknowledged and validated. Yeah, I always validate myself,
Absolutely.
but then that means it's time to let it go as well. So when I supply the unmet need and I supply that myself, then I find that it's much easier, but I still am finding myself getting triggered. And the thing with me is, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing or Jewish thing or not, but my emotions are so strong. So I don't just have a simple response, you know?
So there's another study that's out there that if somebody wants to go into, I find it fascinating, but I wasn't drawn to go into deep, and it's called the Gene Keys. And the Gene Keys is based on human design and whatnot. And Ken and I call it our SIM cards. And what I mean by that is that in human design, they take a look at some of the astrology kind of things, like when were you born, what sign, what time.
I agree with all of it.
The northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, all these energies that came in when that seed of life, when that spark of generation happened, as soon as you exited the mother's womb, boom, now you're a living being. So what is all
I believe
energy?
it.
Okay, so there's a study called the Gene Keys, and it's in some ways it's a little unnerving, because when you figure out and you find out your gene key and you start studying it, you're like, oh my gosh, my life was scripted, kind of, you know. It's like, whoa, this is a little too revealing. Or you embrace it going, no wonder why, right? Well, we call it our SIM card. And there are some things with our SIM cards that we come in that we just are. It's part
We
of
just
this
are.
experience, and it's not bad, it's not good, it just is an is thing. It's a haya. It just is. Well, I'm saying this because one of my areas that I have the greatest possibility to extricate or grab wisdom in is my emotions. So there's a couple areas in my life that are not closed, they're not fixed. My ego is not fixed, and my emotions aren't fixed. Pretty much everything else is fixed in my SIM card, but those two are not. And those are where the greatest chaos will occur, is within the ego and emotions for me. So I bet you anything that your SIM card is probably pretty similar to mine, and you probably have emotions that are wide open, because my whole life has been tumultuous with emotions. In fact, I used to say I experienced my whole world through emotions. My whole world is through emotions. And getting to this place where I'm at now and being able to tame some of those chaotic waters has made it a whole lot nicer. But I had to do a lot of work to get there. I had to heal a lot of trauma to get there.
Well, I think that's where I'm living. Would you feel comfortable sharing what month you were born in?
Sure. April.
April, yeah. I was born in January, so the middle of January. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, mine, I'm right on the edge of being an Aries and a Taurus, April 17th. So I'm
Oh, that's
there-
right. You did
Yeah.
tell me that. Yeah.
there's a lot of strength on both sides with Aries and Taurus both. And so right there at the cusp, because I think it switches on the 20th of April and I'm on the 17th. So I'm in that week where I can grab a hold of both of those energies, and it sure makes a lot of sense in a lot of the things that I've gone through. So it's all good. I'm happy with my SIM card the way it is because it's my experience for what I
Of
need to
course.
out, and so I embrace it. I just don't reject those things anymore. But it's made it challenging, and it's made it beautiful.
I always say in my emotional life too, never a dull moment.
Never.
So,
Never, never, never. I actually gave my husband a big hug and a kiss this morning, and I said, thank you for having such patience for me.
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Because I know, having a fixed ego and fixed emotions and then being married to a mirror that is the exact opposite isn't easy. So, oh my gosh. It's good. I mean, he's helped balance me and I help balance him. So it's all
For
purpose.
sure. You can see that.